Most people don't know that pharmacy prices vary wildly and that insurance isn't always your best bet. GoodRx is an easy way for Americans to save up to 80% on their prescriptions. You type in the name of your prescription, you find a coupon, and save. GoodRx works at virtually every pharmacy in America. This year, we'll save Americans over $1 billion on their prescriptions.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to
There's no membership required with GoodRx. It's totally free, and we don't need any personal information. Go to GoodRx.com to see if you can save on your prescriptions.
Welcome back, Shaykh Mustafa Umar from California Islamic University.
Yes.
This is CNET, and here are the stories that matter right now.
Be a student by now.
A Samsung Galaxy Note 9 reportedly caught fire earlier this month, according to a lawsuit reported by the New York Post on Saturday. According to the Post, New York woman Diane Chung said the phone became extremely hot on September 3rd before catching fire in her purse. In a statement, Samsung said it was investigating the matter, but had not received any reports of similar incidents involving a Galaxy Note 9
I was
device.
surprised. Were you expecting to meet him?
I wasn't. I visited a house in Medina.
Amazon is investigating reports staff were caught offering to delete negative reviews on the site and restore banned accounts, according to the Wall Street Journal.
You're part of this
The employees, largely based in China, were also allegedly caught working through third-party brokers to sell sales data, the journal reports. In a statement, Amazon said it has zero tolerance for those abusing the system and that it would take action against bad actors.
Right? And I just thought you were a random fanboy of some, like, shit.
And finally, Elon Musk wants to bring Tesla crash repairs in-house.
He's a fanboy.
In a tweet on Sunday, the Tesla CEO said outside repairers were taking weeks or months to do repairs driving car lanes crazy. Musk said Tesla was aiming for same-day repairs in-house with a goal to eventually do repairs in under an hour.
Oh, well, yeah, I always
Stay up to date with the latest by downloading the CNET Tech Today app in the Apple or Google Play Store.
So thank you, Sim, for bringing that up. So actually,
here's a little secret.
we have sponsors now. If you are getting custom to our new format,
for up to half
so
off. That's right. Get everything delivered right to your door without breaking
so
the
our
bank.
first
How much
sponsor
will you
that we want to
save?
talk about is
Find
Wahid
out
Invest.
at
We all make money.
thrivemarket.com.
We are always concerned about
This is
kind of
CNET,
investment
and here are the
vehicles that are
stories
available
that
to
matter
us.
right now.
As far
Apple's
as
newest
interest and
iPhones
whatnot
are up
and
for
what's halal.
pre-order. The
So
10s
Wahid
starts
Invest, you
at
can put your money into safe
$999,
space,
while the
and,
larger 10s
you
Max
realize
starts at
it'll
$1099.
work well for you.
Both models will
If you don't
ship
have money,
on
give it
September
to
21st.
take your parents'
The
money.
iPhone 10R, Apple's
I know,
lower-end
my wife actually
iPhone,
uses Wahid.
will be available
It's a
for
good place
pre-order
because people
in
don't have
October.
don't want to put their money in savings
Mark
accounts.
Zuckerberg wrote a
So
lengthy post
it's like
on
a place and
Facebook
it's pretty easy
explaining
to
how the
transfer
company
money,
is
like,
taking measures to
we just
prevent
bought a van,
election interference.
a couple weeks
He
ago,
says
and
that
so she
Facebook
had
removed
some money
fake
in Wahid,
accounts
she
from
just
a
transferred
number
it
of
right over, and it was
countries
seamless.
well before their
So,
elections.
personal testimony there.
Zuckerberg also mentions that Facebook is working closer with governments to improve its
mashallah,
security.
all of us here are married.
He says that Facebook
but
is
for those
better
of y'all who
prepared
aren't,
than it was
we have half
during
our
the
team.
2016 elections.
halfrd.com, which is
Google will
obviously run by our
discontinue
good
its
friend,
Inbox by Gmail app
Baba Ali.
and service at
So
the
if
end
you wanna,
of March
if you know people who
2019.
are looking to get
Inbox
married
was a bit of an experiment,
again,
with Google
people that I
attempting
know
to
use
rethink
half-RD.
how to
They're
handle
still married.
email.
Mustafa
With
and
the
I were
recent
talking on the
Gmail
car ride over
redesign, a
about,
number
like,
of features that
how,
first
like,
appeared in
there's
Inbox
academic
made their way to
divorce.
Gmail itself.
You
If
find
you'll be
religious
lost
people,
without
nice
Inbox,
people,
Google
you
has
wonder
put
how they
together a
get divorced,
transition
but
guide on
half-RD
how to
have a
move
pretty
from
good track
Inbox to
record. They're
Gmail.
doing the background compatibility work for you.
Stay up to date with the
Making sure
latest
you're
by
good.
downloading the CNET
And
Tech
last
Today
but not
app,
least,
available
we're
for
all gonna
iOS
die,
and
so you want to
Android.
make sure the kuffar don't take your kids. Okay.
It's simple. You've got something you want
And
for
to prevent that, we
You've never
recommend
heard it.
you go through a proper legal Islamic
you
will
can just
system.
send it.
And there's no better way
Not
to
like
do
that.
that than
By mail.
mywasiya.com.
And a free shipper will provide you.
MyWasiya,
Your piece will be
seamless, easy
meticulously
way
custom framed in
to set up
America
your
at
will
our very own
and
factory.
make sure your assets are going to the right place.
We'll send it back
places
to you for a
want them to
fraction of
go,
the price in
not
a
what the
lot
government
less time
wants.
than traditional
So
custom
make sure you
framing.
get signed up with
Framebridge
Wasiya.
box will show up at your
Shaykh
house,
Amr, you just
and you'll
know
put
hadith,
that
right?
something
You
you've been
should-
wanting to
I
frame
believe
on
it
your
doesn't
wall, and
live
it'll
more
look
than 2 days
amazing.
or something without,
Framebridge.
a few days, 3 days.
so having assets. So
This is CNET, and here are the
There
stories that
you
matter
go.
right
So-
now.
Gotta love my.
Apple has debuted a new
Gotta
Series
love
4 watch.
He puts a little
It's
bit.
essentially
of
a
laughter
total
into his
redesign. The updated
Yeah,
smartwatch sports a new,
welcome
larger
to the dark
edge-to-edge
side.
display, more complications,
it is what it is.
a UI refresh,
back
and a
to the
digital
show.
crown
So we
that
were
now
talking
features
about
haptic feedback.
you know,
The
you're
Series 4
involved. Like
watch
how
can
I thought you
also
were just a
detect
fanboy, and then I
dangerous
see
falls
you're on.
and also
You know,
perform an
well, at that point I figured out,
electrocardiogram
oh, this guy actually
directly
studied
from your
something.
wrist.
He's actually here at Amjad
You might be able to detect heart issues and other
Muhammad
irregularities
Ashinawi.
that you can discuss with your doctor.
Find out you're
Next up was the new iPhones.
you're like
Apple
here to
lifted the curtain on a trio of new devices.
find out you're connected with Shaykh
The iPhone
Amr.
10s
We get you on a podcast the next day.
5.8-inch screen.
And then I see
I'm connected with
10s
him.
Max has a 6.5
and then I see you in a picture, and you're on the
They
Fit
both
Council
use
of North
faster
America.
algorithms for
Did you know
better
that?
performance,
He was on the Fit Council
more
of North
security,
America?
and
Yeah, how do I
improved
get on?
AR functionality.
We'll
The
invite
cameras
you.
are better too.
So there's
I
many
can-
things
I
you
can
don't know
provide
about
some
this
color
guy.
commentary.
Smart
Dude, there's many.
HDR,
Dude, you know how
adjustable
studious
depth
this
of
guy is.
field,
I know you didn't
post-photo.
ask about this. This
Apple
guy
finished up
is
with
on
the iPhone
Gracie
10R,
University. It's an
a smaller,
online
cheaper
jiu-jitsu
alternative to the SMS
university.
Max.
I
It
always
sports
saw
an
the ads
LCD
for the
screen
past few years,
and comes in
but I didn't know
6
anyone that was
finishes
on. And I'm
and
talking to
3
this guy,
sizes.
and you're practicing jiu-jitsu now.
And finally,
The
most
setup.
notably absent during the
setup.
event,
You guys know
the
about
new
his setup?
AirPods,
This
I don't
guy-
know.
and he talk about
Why are
wireless
scholars
charging,
trying to learn how to
and
fight?
any and all
Why are they
iPad
trying to learn how to
use.
fight?
For more on the announcements,
we're
keep it here
gonna
at CNET.
talk about why they're trying to learn how to fight later. But
And
everyone
you can
should know
stay
how to
up to
fight,
date with
whether
the
they're
latest by
scholars or not.
downloading the
And it's
CNET
not about
Tech
fight, it's
Today
about
app
self-defense.
in
It's
the
about
Apple
just
or
staying
Google Play
active.
Store.
It's about knowing how to defend yourself and your family. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
This is CNET, and here are the stories that matter right now. TechCrunch is reporting that Wednesday's iPhone event will be available for live streaming for the first time ever on Twitter, bucking a long-term tradition of exclusive broadcast on an Apple TV Edge browser, or of course, Safari. T-Mobile continues to talk a big game when it comes to 5G. Carrier says that it signed a $3.5 billion agreement with Swedish telecom supplier Ericsson to support its own 5G deployment. This is in addition to the $3.5 billion deal signed with Nokia back in July. T-Mobile awaits a merger with Sprint, but is also waiting for regulatory approval. And finally, Recode has a story outlining just how much of Amazon's search results render ads. The write-up finds that many search terms return ads for sponsored products or Amazon's in-house brands,
And the
making
awesome
it
thing about
increasingly
people
difficult to
watching,
find
he's gonna
organic
catch certain
search
things that
results.
you may not catch.
The article
And
says
you're
that
gonna catch
Amazon will
something and then you
continue
guys
to
put
do this
together, you
until
gotta
it
correct
reaches
each
a
other.
point where
It's
it
the
annoys
data,
customers.
right? After you learn from your shaykh,
Apparently, that
you
hasn't
gotta go
happened
as
yet.
students and practice on your own, right? It's the best way to learn.
You can stay up to date with the latest by downloading the CNET Tech Today app in the Apple or Google Play
Store. Whatever
Store.
we're learning, they're doing the same thing, and we implement it on each other. So it's great.
Here's a little
That's beautiful.
secret.
You
At
guys okay? You guys look a little panicked right now.
thrivemarket.com,
Is
you
everything
can
all
buy
right?
organic groceries.
there
for
was
up
some
to
audio
half
problems
off.
that we're
That's
having on the
right. Get
podcast,
everything delivered
but,
right to your door without breaking the bank.
we should
How
be
much
okay
will
now.
you save?
Okay.
Find
Yeah,
out.
they
at
just probably-
I just
Hear
started
our
worrying
sponsors.
about you guys. Both of you guys haphazardly started communicating.
This
with
is
each other.
CNET, and here are the stories that matter
No,
right
We just got
now.
bored.
No, somebody, one of our
The
listeners.
Apple analyst has provided a
Message
slew of
saying that
predictions
there's-
on the iPad Pro,
Good for you.
Apple
Thank
Watch,
you, audience. That's why we
of course,
love you
new
guys. and That's why we
iPhones.
do this live.
Mac Rumors has summarized the
Um,
If we
notes.
show you an arm lock,
Set to be made official on September
So
12th.
how long you been doing this
Analyst
for?
Ming Chi Ku believes a 6.1-inch iPhone, the cheapest of the new
Allahu
three
Akbar.
models,
Very
could be
nice, man.
delayed.
And I
Also,
know
the
this
new
Martial arts
iPad
before,
Pros
but
will
like
have Face ID support,
Mashallah, man.
use
That's
USB-C
impressive.
connections.
And,
The note also says
you know,
Apple's
and that's
Series
one of the
4
wisdoms
watch
of people
will
just
have
being
EKG
lifelong
support,
students,
ceramic
teaching yourself
backs,
as a student,
and
'cause you learn
smaller
everything.
bezels.
You want to learn
Check out
everything.
all
Man.
the
There's so many things that you can learn no matter how old you are, man. And like Ed O'Neill, from Married with Children. I know it's not a good show to watch, but we're growing up. We know Al Bundy, but he got his black belt from the Gracies.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
dude. I found that out like 5 years ago. I saw him on one of the video clips with the Gracie breakdown, and he's a black belt, dude.
I just found out Putin is
Really?
like a 8th-degree black belt in judo and a black belt in jiu-jitsu or something.
Oh,
Like,
I
he's
didn't
like
know. That's
high
crazy.
level, man. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
That's crazy. He does look a little fit now that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Shout out to Habib Nurmagomedov. If you're listening to us, you're going to be on the show, inshallah, brother.
Inshallah.
And we're going to smash him.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I know you guys don't like it. So, anyways, back to the Fiqh Council stuff, which we'll get into the actually subject we wanted to talk about today with you. So I found out you're in the Fiqh Council because you're in that picture at ISNA, and then I saw a bunch of comments about like, how come there are no women here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
Why are there no women in the fiqh council?
There was one person.
Who said there's no women in the
There's
Fiqh
one
council, man? There was
in the
one.
Fiqh-
There were some women that were making an issue, but no
Well,
guys.
there's not many women inventors either. So, what's the problem?
Yeah, you're right.
So that was the discussion online. So yeah, there's actually 2 women on the Fiqh council.
Okay.
Dr. Dina and then Dr. Zainab Alwani. So
Wait.
she was the only. Dr. Zainab was the only one in the picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people had a problem and they said, well, why isn't the Fiqh council composed of 50% female and 50% male. Otherwise, it's automatically implied that there's some gender, discrimination taking place.
What about racial discrimination? Is the Fiqh Council equally represented across all ethnic boundaries
Not
or
at all. No.
Identities?
No, it's not.
It's not?
It's not.
Then you're racist.
It's not. I didn't form the council, so
you're part of a racist council.
Yeah,
that is.
But I understand the argument. Nor do I agree with it.
No, this is what happened at our masjid. Actually, a whole board insurrection started based on the board not having an equal representation of Arabs and Indians, and the minority were like there was like 4 Arab guys and 3 Indian guys, and one of the Arab guys said, "Hey, you Indians, you guys don't have equal representation. We should get equal representation." And he filled their ears with all this talk, and he caused them to go to court and all these legal battles. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. By the way, that's just the way Sim is. He was playing devil's advocate. He's not.
Yeah. No, I know that.
So take offense.
He listens to the podcast.
No, I know, but I don't want him to start
you're doing it for the
jiu-jitsu.
listener. You're listening.
Yeah, I don't want him to start using some jiu-jitsu. I'll put you in an arm like your arm is right in front of him.
So
I would happily be in.
He might slap an armbar on you.
No, anyone who's got an Ertugrul ring on, I'm not gonna mess with him. Man. Alhamdulillah, I like that.
So like, how did you get on the Fiqh Council? Did you it's like a job application that they had an opening and like you want to apply or?
It's about being recognized by the league.
I'll tell you as much as I can tell you publicly.
Okay.
So basically, the Fiqh Council is known to be more senior scholars. So what happened is at some point a few years back, they said, we need to start including some younger people. So they reached out and they brought 3 younger people on. So I was one of those people. So they chose 3 people who they thought would make a good fit for the Fiqh Council. One was Shaykh Yasser Qadi. One was I think what's his name in Canada, Dr. Jasser Auda, and then myself. So I was the 3rd one, happened to be the youngest one. So I was recommended. Basically, you have to be recommended by I think 2 people on the Fiqh Council. So Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui, he's my neighbor. He knows me really well. Like he's in my area.
Yeah.
So I'm his neighbor actually in the same area. So he recommended me. So I've been working with him for a long time. So he recommended me. Then the Fiqh Council approves. 2/3 approval. Then you get on the Fiqh Council.
Gotcha. So now you got a recent paper that I guess I don't know if it's published yet, but you're working on.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the concept of marijuana in Islam.
Yeah.
So is what's this about? Are we allowed to get high now, like publicly? And
short answer is no.
Why not? It's legal.
Yes, it is. Well, not in
alcohol
Illinois,
is legal too,
not in your state.
Alcohol
it's
is
legal in my
It will
state,
be.
It will be legal recreationally.
It will be in just a matter of time.
Yeah.
If you go to Canada, but legality, like drinking alcohol is legal too, right? That doesn't mean you can.
That's
do it
true, but.
Well, that's true. But
there's
no
what we call shifa in some type of ailments that cannabis brings. We can talk about that later, but alcohol is much more poisonous substance. I don't think it's a 1-to-1 ratio that you can make, but you guys are the scholars. Please don't put me in an armbar. I'm already looking. They're looking at me like with murderous eyes.
No, you're here for that reason. You play the devil's advocate.
Right. Sheikh Mustafa, it's funny because in high school I was interested in smoking weed, right?
Oh.
I never got a chance to, but it was like part of my phase of being.
I know
like,
some guys who can hook you up.
I was like part of because I was like,
you couldn't find it or what?
Like I mean, I
didn't want to know the background story.
No, that's good. I'm glad you're mentioning that
because it was. But the idea was, I was like, well, Muslims smoke cigarettes, and weed is less harmful than cigarettes. So therefore, weed is probably halal too.
Right.
I didn't know that.
It is actually less harmful.
Yeah.
I mean, physically speaking, in terms of carcinogens and everything, weed is not known to have any carcinogenic substances.
Up to research that they have right now.
Yeah, and it doesn't give you like lung cancer or like what's that lung cirrhosis or whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I remember it is funny. When I went to college, I was friends with an Ismaili guy. I didn't know that Ismaili were kuffar back then.
Hey, at least you weren't friends with Ismail Royer.
Yeah, I would be in jail.
See what I did?
Right. But anyways, we're friends now, alhamdulillah. But like, this Ismaili friend of mine, he smoked weed like every day. Like in our dorm room, we're like always baked.
In your room.
in his dorm room. We lived in the same building, but
you went in and hotboxed in his room.
So he would never give it to me.
Even he doesn't know what you too advanced for him, son.
I'm
he doesn't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
You know what hotboxing is?
No.
Okay, I'll teach you later.
So I asked him like, hey, can I try some weed? He's like, no, you pray 5 times a day. It's not good for you.
Wow, that's protection, brother. That's what you wanted something, and the guy who you were calling a kuffar, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but he even, mashallah, man, Allah can protect you through even.
Yeah. So anyways, eventually I somehow like came across I became a murid of a Shaykh Abu Khadija, and then he guided me to Al-Islam.
Oh, what you thought was Al-Islam.
But anyway, so the story on what's the deal on weed? You wrote this paper. Why is this important for us to talk about?
Okay, so this is important for a number of reasons. Number one, there's this huge debate and discussion going on about marijuana throughout America and probably throughout about all Western countries, pretty much, right? Because it's forbidden. It's forbidden by law. The federal government classifies it as a Schedule 1 controlled substance, which basically means that it has a lot of potential for harm and addiction and things like that, and it has absolutely no medical properties or no medical benefits. That's what the federal government says. Then you got like 31 states have already legalized some form of medical marijuana or medical cannabis. And you got like, I forgot, it's like 8 states or something that have legalized recreational. So there's this huge debate going on in America right now. Canada just legalized it as well. That's one reason why it's really important, because there's a debate among Muslims and non-Muslims about whether to legalize it or not. And there's 2 aspects of legalization. There's recreational legalization, and then there's medical legalization.
Yeah.
That's one reason why it's important. Second reason why it's important is because Muslims have been smoking pot for a long time, right? Like Muslims get high and they do this, and this is a problem with, all youth societies, right? Like you went through it, even though you were protected, like you wanted to, right? Like we grew up in this culture, man. Like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and Chronic and the albums and
weed smoking competitions. Who could smoke the longest?
Exactly. We got the police officer comes in and like talks about DARE and drug abuse resistance education program, and then on the flip side you got like. You got a song about like, I smoke 2 joints in the morning, I smoke 2 joints at night, all of that stuff,
So it's become a strong part of our society.
It's part of our society. It's part and
and
parcel.
we can apply
looking up to Bob Marley
exactly,
and music.
Can we apply the principle like urf, just like how the Yemenis have done with qat and permitted it in their?
You're trying to like jump. You're trying to jump to that one.
Yeah, I mean. So
I think we should get into that. Just let him. I think it's
going to we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get. I know you're looking forward to that one. So just wait for the fatwa first before you consume anything in the studio over here.
I plead the fifth in every aspect of this discussion. Unlike Mahin, who's already admitted to wanting to smoke it. Astaghfirullah.
Abu Khadija's not going to like that. Anyways, man, continue.
All right, so you got the legal debate, right? 2, you got Muslims smoking weed, and it's part of the shahwa, it's part of the desires. People want to escape from reality. It's the cool thing to do. Everyone else is doing it. More and more people are doing it. Access is easy. So you got Muslims wanting to do it, and Muslims get confused between the whole debate on legalizing marijuana with halalizing marijuana, right? And they don't know where to draw that line. So like when you're talking about legalization, you're fighting for like legalization of marijuana because it has medical benefits. You're fighting that it's safer than alcohol. So if alcohol is allowed, we should legalize marijuana. But then the Muslim, who's kind of like automatically leaning towards liberal values and leaning towards the left because of Islamophobia, having to align ourselves with left-wing politics, that all has an effect on us. And what's happening is more and more people are justifying and rationalizing to themselves
that's a great point.
Why it's okay, like it's okay to use marijuana. And that's a big concern that I have for Muslim youth especially. So these are like probably 2 of the main reasons why it's really important. And the third reason why it's really important is there are medical benefits to it, and people are suffering from certain illnesses, and we got opiate addiction. Opioids are like being prescribed left and right. People are taking all of these painkillers and prescription drugs that's leading them to addictions, leading them to potential like meth use later on. And if these are actually much safer and better alternatives for medicine, for medicinal use, why should Islam like prohibit that? Because the difference between like smoking to get high and like trying to cure some like illness that you have, or you got you're going through chemo and you're gonna get all these crazy drugs. Maybe this is better for you. That's why it's important.
So on the medical side, you think there it is? Would you say it would be considered halal, or just case by case?
It's case by case.
Okay.
You could set some general principles. I've been doing a lot of research on this. You can set some general principles. One of the things that people don't really realize, and I think probably a lot of scholars even don't realize, when I started doing this research, I was like, I kind of had one perception going into it, and that perception was like, all this medical talk and all that. It's just people just want an excuse to get high. Right. And I was like, a lot of this probably just like a sham. There may be like one or two potential benefits, but it turns out like there is a lot of legitimate research coming out to show that there's medicinal or medical benefits to it. And then when I started researching, I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. The cannabis plant has been talked about since like Greek times. Hippocrates, Galen, they've been talking about the harms as well as the benefits of it. And the Muslims who adopted that medical framework of the Greeks and the philosophical framework, and they developed it. They're talking about hashish. Hashish is from the cannabis plant. It's like it's a drug. It's haram too, just to clarify.
Is hashish another kind of? It's not marijuana, but another extract of cannabis.
Yeah. So basically, cannabis is a plant.
Okay.
There's different forms, sativa and indica and stuff like that. So cannabis, marijuana is made from the leaves of the cannabis plant.
Okay.
Hashish is made from the resin. Resin is like the sap of a tree.
The buds,
so,
from
the buds, exactly.
The leaves are from.
Well, no, the buds are marijuana is coming from the buds still from the leaves, but this is from the resin of it. So it's actually it used to be stronger, way stronger than marijuana, but now they've engineered marijuana to have higher THC content, so it's like exceeding the THC
astronomically
content.
higher than it was before.
Much more than even hashish is now. So that's like the Muslim scholars talked about the potential medical benefits of hashish. And hashish is stronger than marijuana. It's from the same plant, which means that there's some validity, there's some legitimacy to this medical research that's coming out, and you have a lot of people doing this, right? So when I started that research, I was like, I'm like, wait a minute, man. Like, the same scholars who are saying hashish is haram, like clear-cut, 100% haram, they're like, but if it's really for legitimate medical use, it's like it's okay. I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute, man.
And with that, obviously has conditions too.
A lot of conditions.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's not just right off the bat like you can
like
self-medicate yourself.
Don't log off right now. And be like, I got the fatwa,
man.
End
the podcast. Dude,
that's it. We're going straight to the dispensary right now and give me the hashish because Imam Zarkashi, Imam Nawawi said it's okay. Well, the dude from Riyadh al-Salihin said it's okay. I'm done, man. Like I'm heading over there right now. So we got to be careful. All right. So go ahead.
No. All I was saying is that the general understanding, and he could chime into this because he's more of a specialist in this field, but there's reason to give stringent leeway for making something halal. Reason being is, number one, since we were talking about benefits, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets the precedent in the Quran to let us know that al-khamr al-maysir, that even alcohol and gambling, fiha manafi'u lin-nasi, there's many benefits in it, right? But he said, even though that it has benefits in it, the harm outweighs all of the benefits. The one harm outweighs all of the benefit. So just because something has benefit, it doesn't by default make it halal. That's one thing that we have to understand. The second thing is that consumption of any type of substances that changes the mindset, the difference of the debate occurred amongst the scholars, is something that intoxicates or gets you high, or Imam Abu Dawud, I remember you were asking about the hadith. I was able to, Abu Dawud actually mentions a hadith that Rasulullah says that any muskir, anything that makes you high or overly relaxes you, is considered haram, right? Meaning an unnatural type of induction of relaxation, right? And that's where he was talking about the sativas and the other strain, the sativas and indicas, right? One of them, I can't even remember, has more CBD in it, so it'll relax you more. The other will be a little more racy. Right. But nonetheless, they are intoxicants. And why, we have to ask the question, why do people consume intoxicants in the first place? I was talking to my students and I said, a very simple way of looking at this is that love given and love taken is something very, very strong and powerful to the human being. Reason for that is if somebody's given lots and lots of love, the less void they have inside of their hearts, right? The more void you have in your heart, you need some type of illumination, and you need to put something in there that temporarily gives you a feeling whether it's of escape, as you were mentioning, or making you feel happy, right? To release whatever chemicals. But the heart at the end needs to fill those voids. And if it doesn't have that type of love, and if it's not given that type of love, if it's not able to project that type of love, it needs to put something in the heart to make up and substitute for that. But it's only going to last for a small period of time, and then you're going to be back into your own misery, right? So love actually goes a very long way. And when I mean love, I'm not trying to make it like a super Christian type love that Jesus loves you, love blindly. No, I'm talking about on a very individual, family, cultural, social fabric level of love, right? But that being said, the stringent conditions have to be met. For instance, the opinion that I very much promote is that if there's no other substitute, there's no other medication in the upright physician. For Muslims, we have to make sure that we go to Muslim upright physicians. If you don't have access to Muslim upright, meaning that they understand Islam a little bit and they have an inclination toward Islam, and alhamdulillah,
I was
Muslims,
just going to clarify that. Let's not just say Muslim upright, practicing Muslims who understand Islam, and then their physicians.
Exactly, right? That's very, very important. And some of the scholars are, when something is by default haram or intoxicant, they say, at least 2 upright, right? Or 2 practicing Muslim physicians, especially in, major cities. We have, alhamdulillah, lots and lots of doctors and physicians. So if they say, there's no other substitute for you, and cannabis seems to be, so be it. Then that's a whole different thing, right? And cannabis can also be consumed without getting high in certain types of diseases or whatever the case may be, right? Yeah, please. So that's one thing that has to be clarified, that, there's certain things that even opiates, right? If something is an opiate and the doctor says that this is the only pain medication that's going to help you manage your pain and you're not going to be able to conduct your life, that's a whole different thing, right? But taking opiates just for getting high, that's still getting high, and that's a type of haram. That's a type of harma, right? And so I mean, that's basically just something I wanted to chime in. And I know that you had a lot more detail, but since we're in the first 15-minute mark, I don't want people to just get excited and thinking, that
start lighting up.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got all the terminologies too, mashallah. Anyways, go ahead, take it away, brother.
Alhamdulillah. So basically, cannabis plant has 2 main chemicals. There's hundreds of chemicals, but it's got 2 main chemicals. It's got THC and CBD, right? THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, CBD, cannabidiol. Most young people, at least in California, they know THC and CBD, and they know the difference between them because the drug culture is very prominent over there, right? So THC basically is the thing that's gonna make you high. Okay, CBD actually inhibits THC. That's what the research is showing now. So the higher CBD you have, the less effects of THC, less likely are you to get high. So you go into any marijuana dispensary and you look at their menu. Okay, they have a menu of strawberry kush, and they got black, whatever, orchid, and different,
Maui Waui.
Yeah. So you probably know the menu.
I've never heard of them.
Okay,
I'm just talking about what Shaykh Hammer told me.
Mashallah.
That was in the late 90s. Maui Waui was hot. Now that's nothing now. Now they're engineering on such a level. And the female plant is what they actually look for. What I heard is the male plant. The minimal research is, how there's male plants and female plants, and there's ways of determining. But the female plant is what the people that grow look out after. They don't want the male plant. It actually tarnishes it. It actually tarnishes the high or whatever the case may be. But anyways, so you're talking about strawberry kush and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Yeah, you got different THC CBD content, right? So THC content is 20%, 25%, gets up to 30%.
Right.
CBD content on all these menus is less than 0.1% or something like that, which means that almost all of the stuff that's being sold, it's to get them high, right? But then you have a lot of strains coming out now. They're kind of re-engineering to get higher CBD content. Once the CBD content gets high enough, the THC content is very low. That stuff cannot get you high.
Yeah.
Right. So you got CBD oil, which has some THC in it, but it's got a ratio of 20 to 1. It's got a ratio of 40 to 1 or something like that.
Now, do they both act the same for medical purposes?
That's exactly what I discovered, and that's very important for Muslims. So because for people who are looking at medical cannabis, right, medical marijuana, they don't care how much CBD goes in there, how much THC goes in there. Right? That's not really a huge thing,
right?
Because for them, getting high is not. They can get drunk. They don't have an issue, right?
Yeah.
We have a problem with the high and
with
the drunk, right? That's the intoxication part of it, right? Depending on how you define intoxication. So that's our issue. Now, what's happening, what's really interesting is that research is showing that it's CBD that provides most of the medical benefits rather than the THC.
Anti-inflammatory.
All, for the vast majority of medical benefits, right? With one exception, right? I could look that up. I forgot what it was. So you don't need to have very high THC content, which means you're not going to be getting high for most of these things. Now, this wasn't known for a long time. So most of the research has been done on high THC content. Whereas now we're looking and realizing, oh, wait a minute, high CBD content, actually, that's where most of the medical properties are.
Yeah.
And for Muslims, that's not like an intrinsic problem because it's not going to make you high.
Yeah.
So if that product is not going to make you high, there's a lot more leniency in saying that, you know what, you're more likely to qualify as that being a medical, as long as there's no other alternative, as long as, you know, you're not intentionally trying to, you know, consume this for whatever other reason, as long as it's proven to be effective, all of those things.
Yeah.
And which is great. Actually.
Yeah, no, it is. And I know even for pain management, there's something that occurs in the brain. I mean, it just, if someone's in lots of pain and the THC will numb the portion or the receptors that are, or your motors, the motors, I'm not remembering exactly. I don't want to actually make something up, but it's not actually getting rid of the pain. It's actually just blocking the receptors for you to feel the pain. It's not actually helping the pain itself, the THC levels, which is why it's actually CBD would be much more beneficial coupled with another type of medicine that you're using, right? So THC will mainly get you high and temporarily if you're looking for pain management. Now, let's just say that someone's allergic to opioids, right? And the doctor says, listen, you need some pain management to conduct your day. And, you know, we're going to give you a type of medication or a strain that does have some THC. You may feel high, or a little bit, kind of like an opioid would, but it'll let you manage your life. You know, Islamically, that's something that it's a small group of people that would be dealing with that type of pain, you know, but that would be something that would be allowed based on what the doctor would recommend. Because some people will have some horrible reactions to opiates. That's the only option they have, which is considered halal.
Right.
You know, so in that situation too, you know, that, Allah help us.
I got a question, Shaykh. So, there's a podcast Sim and I did with a certain individual, like, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
On cannabis. It'll never see the light of day.
Yeah, she got upset about it and left.
She said it'll never see the light of day?
Well,
she was a weed doctor. She was a Muslim weed doctor.
Weed doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was she saying?
Well, I asked a question at the very end, which I'll ask you too, because like you mentioned that there's some scenarios that if we have that scenario, we go to an upright Muslim doctor who can like legislate that for us, right? But aren't there scenarios that they may not even be knowledgeable about? The question
you mean the Muslim doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, I was about to mention that. Like, yeah, definitely.
That's why the scholars and the doctors have to work together, you know?
Yeah, well, not only that. See, the thing is, so like the same way, like I mentioned, like a lot of scholars don't really understand marijuana completely to be able to give like a detailed ruling on it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a ton of doctors. I would say the majority of doctors who are trained in like a traditional medical school. I say traditional medical school, like a normal medical school, who don't know much about marijuana at all. They read like some Huffington Post article and they're like, okay, I made up my mind. Like, they didn't study this. It's not part of their medical school training, right?
Sure.
And a lot of people don't read up on their field, so they don't really know much about neither the Islamic part, but also they don't even know about the medical part of cannabis and where are the benefits. So there's a problem on both sides.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So then so the question I asked her, and this is kind of what got her irritated at the very end, was like, can medical marijuana be prescribed as an aphrodisiac for women to help them get off? Because, you know, at work, I remember I was having a conversation with some friends, like coworkers at work.
Just before you start, kids?
No, we already gave them the disclaimers ahead of the episode.
Okay.
I read that, yeah.
No, just this portion, but go ahead.
Okay. Because I remember,
you guys know who I'm talking about.
I remember at the time I was having a conversation, and she, first of all, she was really shocked that I had a conversation like this at work. That's another story. But we were talking about like, yeah, man, you know, Mahin, you know, you got to give him some Hennessy or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting that wine. I was like, yo, we don't drink. You know, it's against our religion. It's like, oh, snaps. So I was like, wait a second, maybe this is a solution, because he's like, yeah, because like my non-Muslim coworkers, they're like, yeah, alcohol's got to be part of it. That's got to loosen them up. It's like maybe marijuana does the same thing. Like, if that's a problem for Muslim couples, the lack of like intimacy or whatever, Maybe we do weed, as that.
Maybe we do weed.
I mean, no, but like,
let's get high.
Yeah.
But she actually did say that she has. I remember her saying that she did use it as a. She has prescribed that in the past
for an aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
That's probably why she found it problematic.
But doesn't it generally
well, so here's the thing. So look, going back to our principles, right? So we got principle number 1 is there's no alternative available.
Yeah.
Okay. Like they say, strawberries can be an aphrodisiac. You got chocolate. You got a bunch
avocados.
of other, avocado. You got some other things, right? So, is there a reasonable or potential alternative available? Number 1, right?
Yeah.
Number 2, which we didn't mention as a condition, is that this quote unquote illness or problem is significantly affecting your life function, right? So just to say like, oh, me and my husband, we're not like, in the mood sometimes and things like that. So we'll go ahead and use this. That's not, I mean, if it gets to a point where it's really becoming a problem, maybe you can make an argument. So like there is a gray area, what I'm trying to say, right?
Sure.
There's a gray area. These principles are clear-cut principles, but they need to be applied differently according to different people's circumstance.
Yeah,
right?
even like just talking it out, like, just talking it out and finding out what the issues are. There may be some underlying, reasons why there's not intimacy. It helps a lot just to talk to somebody and finding out what it is, or just a therapist. You have to exhaust all options before you just roll up a joint because there's no intimacy.
And especially on this issue, right? Like,
and everyone reacts to it. I'm sorry to cut you off. Everyone reacts to it differently. Some people get super anxious. Some people get depressed. Some people feel like they're on LSD. Some people get sleepy.
That's what Imam Zarkashi said 800 years ago. He said the same thing. It's like people do hashish, and like some people get a little bit violent. Some people get tired. Some people get sleepy.
Yeah.
So like you do it and you like get tired, nothing's happening anyway.
Yeah. And children before the age of 25.
You didn't achieve the goal in the first place.
And it's very much understood that scientific research is that, before the age of like 20 and 25, if people consume marijuana, they shouldn't, because their brains haven't grown properly yet. It actually hinders the growth and messes with the hormones, and the growth of the brain itself gets hindered. Right, so a lot of us know kids in high school that were potheads, and they're almost vegetables now. They can't even think properly, So while the brain is growing, I think what they said physically stops growing around 25 to 28 or something like that.
Yeah.
And in Islam, we believe the intellect stops growing. Where the brain is complete as far as the intellect at the age of 40, right? But it messes with all of that, right? So everybody knows that whether you're pro marijuana or not, before the age of 25, someone shouldn't be even casually, I think, smoking, because it hinders the growth of their brains too.
Now, there's a sister in the chat who's saying that marijuana is known to stop seizures in patients. And before you answer, you have to say it with that guy in mind. Sister asked a beautiful question.
May Allah bless him. We love you.
Alhamdulillah.
We love you, Zakir Naik.
MashaAllah. It's beautiful, MashaAllah.
Come on, say.
Sister asked a beautiful question.
Awesome.
I can't do that. I'm not going to do the accent. I could do it, but I'm not going to.
Okay. So what do you think?
He got principles, man.
Alhamdulillah.
Go ahead.
In your research, what did you find was the most compelling reasons to use medical marijuana?
So when it comes to seizures, right, in my research, it shows that, yes, it really, cannabis helps with seizures a lot. But what's most interesting, seizures are very serious, and it's the CBD that helps the seizures.
Yes.
Which is like perfect. Which is like perfect for Muslims, because like it's the high CBD content. It's not the THC. And that's what people don't get. So like people who don't understand this, they're like, wait, basically what you're saying is like that you go to like Snoop Dogg or Snoop Lion, whatever he changed his name to, like what that guy's smoking, my son needs to smoke that in order to stop the seizures. And it's like, absolutely not. No, that's not the case. We're talking about like, putting like a tincture of high CBD in his mouth.
Yeah.
He's not smoking it. He doesn't need a bong. He doesn't need to vape it per se, and it will deal with his seizures as well.
Okay. And just seizures, is there anything else that you found?
There's a lot. So I mean, there's a whole list.
The top 3 reasons, just off the top of your head, like.
What do I got in my paper?
Because I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of ailments, and
that's the second page. I got the first page too.
We're just trying to provide some community service to people who may not have tried,
of course,
some kind of alternative treatments for things that they may have thought that was haram.
And people have to remember, when we resort to things, dude, there's many things. Even like people are like, oh, it stops cancer or helps with cancer. There's many other things that are better for cancer than marijuana.
Yeah.
Right? Because I heard Muslims talk about it, right? Even juicing, like beet juice, and ginger is known to have, anti-cancerous properties, which is actually supposed to be at a higher concentration, but much better than marijuana, and you don't have to worry about getting high. You know what I'm saying? So there's many other options out there. It's just enticing that something can have medical properties and you can get high at the same time, which intrigues us as human beings. We always want an escape. We need an escape, once in a while, and that's good, but it doesn't have to be through substances that are going to change you. There's many things you can do. There's many things you can consume that are, anti-cancerous or whatever we want to call it. But again, man, I want to, just talk to the youth and say that if you feel that you need to consume something as an escape, there's a void in our heart, right? And we can fill that with many, many things, right? We could fill that with
Quran.
Obviously, right? And Quran has shifa. But sometimes people are like, you know what? They haven't seen that light. They've seen Quran as a chore. That's why I used the word love, man. If you don't have enough love in your life and you're not able to give people love, that's something you have to practice. And then obviously I'm going to say go to the Quran. But some people, they're like, okay, Quran, I don't even understand it. Even though you don't understand it, just for our sake, Quran has shifa. Whether you can understand it or don't understand it. Same, you and I have been doing an exorcism together.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We've seen exorcism. Somebody who may not even be practicing, the Quran is read on them, right? And even the gentleman that was performing the exorcism, right? He read, do you remember when he was reading on the Zamzam water and he was giving her Zamzam? And she was like, no, I'm good now. There's no more. There's nothing wrong with me. It was a jinn talking. There's nothing wrong with it. And he gave her the water. She's like, oh, gasoline. Oh, you're giving me Windex. Remember that? And we're like, whoa. So even though
I love the reference, though, by the way, because 'tis the season.
Yeah.
For exorcism
Inshallah,
reference.
we will have an exorcism.
You celebrate?
We will have an exorcist. We will have an exorcist. Dude, I will tell you something about Omar, bro. This guy, Mustafa Umar, got principles. And he's a jolly, smiley guy. I live with him, mashallah. How many? Was 6 months we lived together in Egypt? About 6 months, mashallah. One of the most amazing brothers I live with. We'll have a separate episode just about our life with him because I don't want to praise him in front of him. He might feel uncomfortable. But this gentleman got principles, man.
Yeah.
This guy, you're not going to be able to waver him whatever principles he has. And if you actually, maybe I've seen him angry once and you don't want it to have, no, I haven't seen him angry. But I'm afraid of that because people that are usually as nice as him when they get angry, they start turning green,
Yeah, they start turning green and they'll put you in a headlock and jiu-jitsu.
Rear naked choke.
Yeah, I actually want to. So let's summarize the points real quick before we get lost. A lot of
We're having fun.
You want to come back to those? You want to come back to that question?
No,
there was things you were asking about. You asked like what are the top
seizures?
Three?
The top three, yeah.
So you got seizures. So you basically you got like chemo patients, chronic pain, glaucoma, HIV, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, PTSD, rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
Right. So
Awesome.
most of these, except the stimulating the appetite, is pretty much high CBD products.
Nice.
Appetite's the main one, which is basically there's discussion on like you need more THC and all that stuff.
Increasing the appetite.
Increasing the appetite.
Oh, okay. That's for like kids. You might want.
No. Even elders, grown-ups. There's some people who have a disease. In one of my friends, actually, his grandmother passed away. She had something. It's a chemical that's released in the brain that makes you feel satiated. Yeah. So she never knew. She used to forget to eat because she never felt hungry. And she actually, I think she passed away from that disease.
Wouldn't it be amazing though if it was just for kids? Like, oh, kid, you're not eating. Let me sprinkle some.
But people
THC
do that.
in your food.
No, people in the Muslim world, you know what they give kids, right? For hunger, they give them fenugreek. Fenugreek actually entices the hunger a lot too.
Fenugreek.
Fenugreek,
that tastes awful.
Oh no, you mix it. You mix it in something.
That explains the munchies when people are high.
Well, everything
takes opium, but alhamdulillah. Okay, good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So summarizing the point. So there's recreational marijuana is still haram, right?
100% clear cut. Not a single scholar that
so clear cut
would say that.
One of the brothers.
What if it's a little bit though? No, I'm just saying you have to.
I mean, like, dude, you gave me the sim smirk, okay? I've known you forever, and that smirk is usually a troll, okay?
I'm just saying, like if it's like weakened down to 2%, where you are,
it's not recreational then, right? Because you're not really enjoying anything.
Yeah, but let's just say you're kind of.
I like the way it tastes.
Just to take the edge off. That's what.
It won't take the edge off if you're taking that little. Yeah. So what's the point?
What are you just smoking?
Me and him were discussing this before the podcast.
We literally were discussing this point, and he's gonna like set the principle.
No, even you will, man. This is your thing, man. I don't want to, but even with alcohol, like I'll give you an example. Right?
Well, you can't compare. Alcohol is much.
I'm progressively working onto something here. If you want to know,
go ahead, Shaykh.
Yeah, go ahead, Shaykh. He looks down. Go ahead, Shaykh. What a troll. He's such a...
For the
those
new
of you guys who don't listeners, he does that to dig deep, bro, because he don't... Go ahead, Shaykh, because he never talks like that.
And for new listeners, he's been my best friend since we were kids. I get to be like this with him, okay?
Yeah, and if he calls me Shaykh, I feel
our...
uncomfortable. I tell him not to call me Shaykh. That's how far we go back. Like, when he calls me Shaykh, I feel uncomfortable, and he knows it. So, anyways, like, even if you were to take, like, a pin, right?
Yeah.
And you dip it in vodka, and you take it out and tell someone to sip it. Or just put it in your mouth. Even nothing's going to happen to you, but even a little bit of it is haram and a lot of it is haram, right?
Yeah.
The discussion that you're talking about is a great discussion because people in the scholars in the past have discussed in its origin, you know, we call it bi'ainihi, is it haram? Meaning the fact that itself is alcohol, is it haram? Or is it because it's going to intoxicate you? So the fact that it's going to intoxicate you for alcohol, I'm going to get to other intoxicants too because marijuana is an intoxicant, right? The fact that it is an intoxicant itself, a little bit of it would be haram, and a lot of it would be haram. It's not haram until the point of intoxication. You understand what I'm saying? Or until the point of getting drunk. Are you with me, sir?
Yeah.
All right. So now let's talk about other things that are intoxicants. We'll take marijuana, for instance, right? Yes, scholars have talked about hashish and marijuana in the past, saying that since it itself is not alcohol and it is an intoxicant, but is it haram because it will cause intoxication and to get up to that level is haram? Or is even a little bit of it haram? You know, Imam Taymiyyah, and Imam Qarafi, I think, Imam Taymiyyah has the harshest opinion on it. He says that the plant is the most evil plant to grow on this earth, and whoever denies that it's haram, it's an act of kufr that they denied that.
Which plant?
The marijuana.
Cannabis.
Hashish.
Does he know about the cocaine plant?
Yeah, listen, who cares? I don't know. He's not alive.
It's much more worse.
I don't know if...
And poppy.
Okay, forget about that. We're talking about this plant.
Okay.
We
should give him the benefit of the doubt. He
yeah, but by the way, cocaine has to be processed a lot more than
not
marijuana.
The poppy seed.
Okay, fine. Whatever. We'll talk about that. Scholars have talked about that in the past, right?
I'm just being a troll.
I know he is.
Relax.
Yeah. So he said that it's the most evil plant, and whoever denies that it's haram, it's an act of kufr because that's how convinced he was, and the scholars around him were convinced that it's haram.
Yeah.
Right? He was of the opinion that even a little bit of it, whether you get high or not, it's still haram, the consumption of it.
Wow.
Because it is intoxicant, right? There's other scholars who talked about a little bit, and, you know, the Shaykh mentions it in here that there was a small minority opinion. And if I'm misquoting you, please let me know. It's just an honor for me to my fellow, roommate and someone who went to school with me to represent his fatwa. This is actually an honor for me. I'm being serious. You know, so that being said, he mentions, because he's a very thorough researcher, he mentions for the amana of knowledge, you know, that he's researching, he mentions the minority of people that mention that, you know, hashish in a small amount, why it wouldn't be haram or why it would be haram, and he mentions that in the fatwa itself, right? By the way, is this fatwa published on the internet right now or no? Not yet. Okay.
It's being voted on by the Fiqh Council.
Okay.
This weekend.
Very cool.
We're voting on fatwas now?
That's how the Fiqh Council works.
But that's how a fatwa, you should have people, you know, stamp it.
Isn't voting kufr?
Was more than
yeah.
That's a whole nother discussion.
more minds to think about. You know what I'm saying?
We know your background. I heard about your background too.
That's my background.
Now that I understood your background, like I know where these discussions are coming from.
Yeah, man. But honestly, I know this is not a part of it, but I want your honest opinion, and we don't mind because our fans are our fans, mashallah. No matter what we do, they're always gonna be our fans, inshallah. Do you think we're a little weird when you come over here? Do you come over here and be like, dude, what? Like, did you ever, like, even the first episode you were here for, did you ever think like, man, I can't wait to get out of this situation that I'm in right now?
No, not at all. You know, the thing is, because I think what it is, you know, like people when they have like scholarly discussions, or if there's like a sheikh on or something like that, they're used to expecting a certain like level of high seriousness, a certain demeanor. And I don't think what you guys do is it's not disrespectful, but it's not the norm.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like when you and I used to sit even in Nadwa, like, you know, or in Egypt, we would have discussions like this.
Yeah.
We're very casual.
Just chilling, yeah.
But I think people are not used to seeing casual discussions with like shuyukh present or some serious Islamic topic or something. So it's like very strange for people. They're like, well, what's going on? Why is Maheen making all these weird, jokes?
No, but when you were here, did you ever think that, hey, man, these guys are a little, they've lost it. They got loose screws.
No.
Because we think that about ourselves.
No.
I don't think that at all.
Do you think we got loose screws?
I think I do.
Okay.
I think Maheen does a little bit.
Wait, Maheen, don't get me wrong, dude. You are amazing. I love you so much. But the reason why he's here is obviously because of his voice, and he's crazy.
Yeah. I actually don't even think I'm crazy.
That's okay. Everyone else does.
That's what crazy people say.
Or maybe this is a whole act for him because he needs a reason to consume some Mary Jane.
Maybe. I want to sum up the points real quick, just because we have to wrap up, and your Uber driver is going to be here pretty soon.
Yeah, he's probably waiting outside.
We could have made this into a 2-hour podcast.
So somebody is asking some questions real quick.
Is that the Uber driver?
No, he's a good friend of our podcast.
Maybe you never know. Yeah.
Are the health benefits of CBD oil proven to be good, or are there any medical research to prove that claim? I think we answered that. I think CBD has been proven to help a variety of ailments.
As of right now. Now, medical stuff changes every 5 years, every 10 years.
Right?
It's theory right now.
Yeah.
Everything. That's with everything, though, right?
Exactly.
So
there's
as of right now.
There's a strong indication to show that it does have these medical benefits that's being ascribed to it.
Wonderful.
All right, sounds good. Well, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Mustafa. And by the way, there was a brother that asked about the haram. Where's the proof it's haram? You covered it. It falls under intoxicants,
yeah, because some people say, well, it's not in the Quran. It's not in the
Sunnah. It doesn't say
because alcohol is not used. The term intoxicant is used in the Quran, right?
Yeah. So I've read some cats telling me that ecstasy is halal because the Quran never says ecstasy is haram.
That's what we all said when we were in high school. We're like, oh, we can do this. It's not specifically mentioned in the Quran because
we all did that. I think most of us did that. It's all based on desire, right?
Yeah.
You desire to do something, and you're like, you know what? If I don't find Allah specifically saying, "Hey, Mustafa, don't smoke weed," I didn't find that in the Quran. So you're looking for something like clear cut. You know, people used to argue that too. It's like it says don't go near zina in the Quran, but it didn't say like
don't commit zina.
It didn't say you can't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't say you can't go to like the movies with like a girl or something like that. So everyone makes that argument. There's a basis for desire. Partly, maybe there's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
They don't understand how to interpret the Quran.
Yeah.
And we've had I did like a whole class like just a few days ago. It's all about analogy and qiyas.
Yeah.
Extending the rules of the Quran and Sunnah and Hadith based upon other scenarios that we've never encountered. Because Islam is a complete way of life. If you encounter something new that's not mentioned in the Quran and Hadith, it doesn't mean that there's no guidance coming from Allah or His Messenger that helps you towards this specific thing.
And can I just add something for like 30 seconds based on what he said, based on what the Shaykh said?
Sure.
One thing is that a Jewish man came to Ali radiallahu anh, and he said, "You said the Quran has everything." And this example I'm going to give in the life of the Khalifa Ali radiallahu anh is going to put something into perspective. It's elementary and it can be used in advanced circles too, right? He said, you say that the Quran has the answer to everything and teaches you about everything. Ali radiallahu anh said, yes. He said, okay, tell me in the Quran where it teaches me how to bake bread.
Yeah.
He said, okay, you want to know where the Quran says that? He said, yeah. He said, okay, come with me. He goes to a baker. They walk together to a baker and he says, how do you make bread? And the baker tells him, well, you do this, and you put yeast in it, you let it rise, and the whole process. And he said, there you go. That's the Quran's answer. He's like, what do you mean? That's not in the Quran. He says, have you read the entire Quran? The Jewish man said, yeah, I didn't find it. And he says, then you missed the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. Right? And that is the ruling of the Quran. If you don't know something, that's why we're actually discussing this. Mashallah, he's becoming the person from Ahl al-Dhikr as far as cannabis is concerned. And a doctor is somebody. So sometimes a mufti can't pass a fatwa without consulting a doctor if it's not in his realm, which is why they both need to work together, right? So everything is not going to be exactly in the Quran, but the principles are in the Quran. The verses are going to lead you to a hadith that's going to tell you about something, right? Allah didn't mention how to pray in the Quran, but Muhammad ﷺ taught us how to pray, right?
Sounds good. Yeah. Well, we got to wrap it up because this driver is here. Quick shout out to our sponsors again. If maybe they missed us in the beginning. My Wasiya, because you don't want to kafar taking your kids. Half our Deen to get married. HalfOurDeen.com with Baba Ali. And also Wahid for your finances. Anything else?
Halal finances, Sharia finances.
Yeah.
And
give subscription on iTunes.
Yep.
5 stars. Follow us on YouTube. Tell your friends about us. Trying to just increase the content.
Trying
and
to
then
add more
check us out on Mad Mondays and Taboo Thursdays, YouTube Live.
Taboo Thursdays, and make sure you donate to us via our donate page. This is not a free operation. This is actually tens of thousands of dollars every year. This is not very cheap at all. Please, Shaykh sees here, right here in the studio, all the lights and cameras, 4 or 5 different cameras over here, ready to give you guys the best type of production possible. We're still working our way to being the best, but we don't.
And we will, inshallah.
And we're constantly improving, and we're getting better equipment and better stuff so that you guys have the best entertainment experiences possible while you're learning. So. Keep us in your du'as if you don't have the money to donate. With that being said, hey, smoke weed every day, as Dr. Dre says. No, I'm just joking.
I was like, wait, what do we end this?
All right.
What if somebody chimed in for the last minute? And all they heard was sponsors and
they can hear it. They can listen to the re-recording.
No, I know.
For a special guest, Sheikh Mustafa Umar, and my co-host, Sheikh Amr Saeed and Sim. This is Mahin signing off for the Mad Mamluks. Assalamu alaikum.
We love you. Assalamu alaikum.